A new budget action camera supporting 4K resolution at 60 frames per second and offering a secondary front display with a lot of accessories. But is it good enough? Let's inspect. Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Michael, really nice to meet you. And today we talk about action cameras, one of my favorite topics, hopefully yours as well. Now the thing is that with action cameras, in the past couple of years there has been a slowdown because we don't see that many good processors and there aren't too many good image sensors that are at the same time affordable, so that most of the budget-friendly brands can kind of do some upgrades. But still, I'm very happy to see devices like this one that's brand new, coming from a company called Victure, and the model is called AC960. Dual display, waterproof body, and I'll tell you all about the rest, but I'll be very clear up front. In terms of quality and performance, it's nowhere near the market leaders like that's the GoPro Hero 10, and yes, a review is coming in, I don't know, whenever it's ready. So that would be a good meaningful competition to the more budget-friendly brands like SJ Kamikaze and similar. And if none of these companies makes kind of sense to you or rings a bell, don't worry, I think in the next minutes you're gonna get to learn a lot about action cameras, and preferably watch this video in 1080p resolution or higher, and let's get to see some more footage. So the price. It's not bad, $160, exactly the price tag which will give you some doubts whether you will stay budget focused or you're gonna try to buy a DJI Osmo Action at a discount because sometimes it is down to close to $200, or get a used GoPro Hero 7 or 8 for about the same money. Whatever it is, I'd strongly recommend buying your action cameras from proven sources and places where you can actually count on after-sales support or service, because there have been numerous scam listings on various websites in the past months. Unboxing, always been a favorite task to do. Well, a big box, not too heavy, but I have the feeling that there are some accessories involved. And that's right. Excuse me for being a little lazy here, but I didn't have the patience to take each and every piece out of the plastic. These are standard, entry-level accessories. Based on years of experience with action cams, I think that you won't really use most of them. But it definitely is nice to see a remote control and 2 batteries inside the pack. I eventually found out that the camera can shoot and get charged at the same time, so you can make some pretty decent long time lapses. Also, it arrives with a waterproof case, so besides the waterproofness of the body itself, you can dive even deeper. Build quality is fine, plastic, not too slippery, thank God, and it has a touch screen, which is the main display. The front screen is nice to have, resembling DJI Osmo's Action ID and lately GoPro's, and of course, it's not touch sensitive. Nothing so far strikes us with innovation or extreme durability. I think the design so far well matches the price asked, and we cannot notice any serious drawbacks either. I've done my usual homework about what is inside. Well, some interesting components indeed. iCatch V39 chipset. There's a 12-megapixel Sony IMX386 image sensor, a 1350 mAh battery which provides backup for up to 1 hour of recording time, 6-axis electronic image stabilization, recording resolutions supported up to 4K at 60 FPS, a dual display setup, Wi-Fi function, therefore a smartphone app, micro SD cards with up to 256 gigs capacity, micro USB port, and a micro HDMI out. So, well, I already feel like we have a serious issue here. That would be rather a trust issue, because 4K at 60 frames per second from this exact chipset is kind of not possible. And I feel like it's happening similar to something that was very trendy years ago when there was the jump between 1080p and 4K, where a lot of budget-oriented action camera makers were just promising 4K, whereas it was actually interpolated. And I think there's one way to figure out, just look at the footage. On one of the sides, we've got 4K 60, on the other one, 1080p 60. They almost look identical, and 4 times difference in terms of pixel amount, or at least that's how it's supposed to be. In reality, there is no obvious difference, even if we zoom in. In case you wonder how properly exposed in real 4K 60 FPS footage would look like, here's the same shot, this time recorded with GoPro Hero 9. The amount of data in the footage is considerably higher. Okay, let's forget about this disappointment and carry on inspecting the Victure AC960. Although I can already feel some trust issues are kicking in, I think it's still worth getting to know about the rest of the details so that we can see the whole picture. And the fact is that the camera would cover most of the features that an average user would need. The housing is waterproof without a case, in depth less than 5 meters, buttons are fine, housing feels solid. Microphones? Well, let's check it together. Is this thing good for vlogging? Well, I still cannot say, but we carry on testing, and here's a test with the internal microphone of the Victure AC960. If I got the motor right. Anyhow, a little bit of breeze, so if that was recorded with the GoPro Hero 9 or 8, we were about to hear no sign from this wind, and it's interesting to figure out whether this Victure action camera is actually good for outdoor audio recordings. So, audio quality is clearly not among the strongest sides of this camera. It may actually support an external microphone, but given the not too amazing chip inside, don't count on drastically better performance with such. As usual, I'm going to recommend using an external solution like this external recorder. Very convenient, it's rather lightweight, one of the most budget-friendly options. Well, still costs like 70, 80, maybe 90 bucks. And if you pair it with a good lavalier microphone, yes, the price can go higher, but audio is sounding much better, like I'm using something similar right now. The thing is that you have a bit of work in post-production because you have to synchronize both. But this kind of system you can use in pretty much any occasion with any kind of video recording device. Gives you better flexibility. The menus of the camera are easy to access. I can notice some ideas borrowed from GoPro's and DJI's user interfaces, but scrolling and the animations are of course nowhere near their performance. Menus are there, quite basic however. You do have some different resolution options, however no 24 or 25 frames per second, which I know will be a deal breaker for many people. Unfortunately, the slow motion is also quite poor, even 1080p is not up to par with my modest hopes. Just for the sake of the reference, the new GoPro Hero 10 offers 120 frames per second out of 4K, and that's real performance. So whatever we see from the samples in the next minutes from Victure AC960 has to be really convincing. We can see that the footage recorded on a bright day looks rather good. Well, this is the kind of lighting which is the most favorable should you need good footage out of an action camera. 30 frames per second in most resolutions is just fine, but anything in 60 or above is bad. Grainy, cartoonish, without much sharpness and lack of details. So if this is the camera of your choice, focus on 4K 30 FPS and similar. Stabilization will never look as great as GoPro's Hyper Smooth, but it's just fine for most vlogging scenarios. If it's a shady day, or if you're at a place with less light, like indoors, the quality gets drastically worse. If you wonder how much of difference we're gonna find between this $160 camera and something that is $450, almost 3 times more, and you can guess who, well, that's it. Apparently, with Victure 960, you can capture some good footage when lighting conditions are perfect, but I don't think the footage can be considered as cinematic or epic in any case. By the way, really nice to have this 1/4-inch thread on the body itself, very useful and helpful, and also the accessories. Since the camera has a lot, better use them. The smartphone app can also come handy, however the Android version is rather buggy and there is no webcam mode, unlike, well, you can guess who. During my testing, the battery inside and its performance was not that consistent, but I can say that generally you can count on somewhere between 30 and 60 minutes of recording, 30 if you review the files and preview them after the recording, and 60 if that's a continuous recording, preferably in 1080p, because the lower the resolution and the lower the frame rate, obviously that will consume less electricity and the battery backup is going to last longer. Now time to think about the drawbacks. I think there's nothing fundamentally wrong with the Victure AC960, it's just that it doesn't excel in any way. Mediocre processor, rather small image sensor and therefore just okayish image quality, Not too many menu options, pro-grade features are entirely missing, so I think among the strengths we should count the waterproofness without a case, but don't push it too much, and maybe the rather good build quality, but again, none of the components are gonna make you wow. I think after these close to 8 minutes, you can already sense that I'm not impressed. Not at all, especially knowing that during sales campaigns, the DJI Osmo Action can be just $40 to $50 more and brings the image quality in a totally different league. So, unless you find it at much better price, I really would recommend either sticking to what you currently have or save some more dollars and figure out a way to get a decent action camera, even a second-hand one. And to Victure and all the cam makers that either don't care what they promise or do it on purpose, which is even worse, misleading customers and promising something that is simply not there, I'd like to say that broken promises and customers' disappointment can be a very serious challenge for business sustainability. But hey, I'm here mostly for the tech part. I hope this has been a useful review. Thank you very much for watching and supporting me. Take good care of yourself, and this time I'll just skip the part that most of us YouTubers sing at the end. Just be safe. See you around. Bye.